This episode sponsored by Stuart Arango Oral Surgery. Learn more at saoralsurgeons.com. And Kathy L. Wall State Farm Agency. Learn more at kathylwall.com. Welcome to the Bubble Lounge. I'm Martha Jackson, and it is summertime, and today we are going to talk about the movies. A lot of you are out there wondering how to keep your kids entertained during these hot months of summer, and we have the perfect way to do it. And today I have invited my new friend, Danielle Hawthorne, who is an entertainment journalist, to join us. Danielle, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I love talking about movies, so I'm thrilled to be here.
I know you do. I've been following you on Instagram for quite some time, and I just get such a kick out of all the interviews that you do. I mean, you have talked to all the big stars.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I feel very fortunate to have been able to do some of the things that I've done in my career.
Well, I know a lot has changed with the movie industry, especially since COVID. People aren't going in person near as much as they used to, but I feel like the trend is starting to turn around and people are getting back in there. Tell us what you know about that.
Yes, so we've had a couple of exciting weeks recently. We had Bad Boys that hit theaters, and they had a huge opening, which I think just shows that people do love the summer blockbuster. But it's all about just getting back into the habit of going to see films on a giant screen at the movies. And so I love to see that. I love to see full theaters, and I think we're getting back there, which is exciting.
Well, you know, it's just such an experience. I mean, much like we all love in this neighborhood going to sports events, going to a movie, it's like a communal experience as well. And Inside Out just came out recently.
Yes, and had record-breaking numbers for attendance and ticket sales. And so, you know, going off of that, I think I see a lot in some of these mainstream media platforms talking about how entertainment is suffering and movie theaters are dying. And it's just not true. I'm sorry, it's just not true. Well, it's a narrative.
I think that just goes to show us, because my daughter, who's 19 and an incoming sophomore in college, she had a group of friends and they were all excited to go see it. And they went out there like opening night. And it just made me so happy because it made me feel like the movies were getting back to normal.
Yeah. And we've got some really, really fun movies coming to theaters this summer or for the remainder of the summer. Something for everybody, from horror to kids films to big action films. We've got so many good films coming up that I just am excited for audiences to see.
So we have a lot to talk about with all the upcoming movies. But before that, I want to talk about your background and the reason that I invited you today, because you have a very impressive background. You've worked in the industry for quite some time. Mm-hmm. You and your husband acquire old movie theaters, which I think is so cool. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So I've been in the entertainment space for probably over 12 years now. And different capacities, from marketing to supporting film and exhibition to being an entertainment journalist, to now having my own company that creates content and syndicates it out to a lot of our partners. So I feel very lucky that I've really been able to just be in this space and wear a lot of different hats in this industry. And you mentioned my husband and I, and he has been in this industry as well for a really long time. He actually has a marketing agency that is primarily focuses on exhibition and film marketing, really marketing for companies within this space, called Film Frog Marketing. And then he is a partner at a company called Cinema Lab, which is a new movie theater concept, where we go in and most of the time go in and renovate these old historic theaters. In fact, we have one opening next week in New Canaan, Connecticut, that is really cool because the building is a 100-year-old movie theater.
Oh,
There's so much rich history in a building like that.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. It's called the Playhouse, and it's we kept all of the original brick. The team that is behind this is such an incredible team with really cool background. And then the designers, who are two of the wives of two of the partners, they've done such an amazing job. They have turned this theater into this beautiful luxury cinema that I haven't seen the finished theater yet. And so I'm excited because we're going up next week to see that. But the whole concept is bringing that luxury boutique feel back to the movies, and while capturing the essence and saving these old theaters that have been around for so long, keeping that history alive.
I am so glad to hear that you're doing that. My grandfather had some theaters in Fort Worth way before I was ever born, so I don't know a whole lot about it, but he was really into the business. And I love old movie theaters. There's a really cool one in Fort Worth on Camp Bowie. I'm sure you know all about that. And it's been back and forth between being stores and this and that. And it's constantly like up in the air what they're going to do with it. And then, of course, right here locally in Highland Park Village, a lot of us are very disappointed that there's no longer a movie theater there.
I would be disappointed right along with you. That it's such a really cool space, and that theater was so amazing in its heyday. I would love nothing more than to see that be a theater again.
Well, it was just so beautiful with the Art Deco, and I love a smaller theater. I like that intimate feeling, and you always knew everybody in there, and it was just like such a neighborhood gathering and such a beautiful space to gather in.
Dallas actually has a lot of rich film history. We used to have a film row downtown, which a lot of people don't know about. If you go, there are a couple of buildings still there. One in particular still has the Warner Brothers logo and sign on it.
Wow, yeah.
I believe it's a church now, I think. But it's one of the only buildings left from our version of Film Row. There's one other building that was a Sony building, but there's no markers on it. And then, of course, the Paramount marker is still downtown as well. But there was also a theater that used to exist off of, I think it's Skillman. That's where Steven Spielberg actually did his first test screening for Jaws.
No way.
Yes, and
my gosh,
I think
right
it's
here
a
in
Kohl's
Dallas?
now. Yeah, I think it's a Kohl's now, which is so disappointing. It's so heartbreaking, and I think just goes to show why really keeping these old theaters and breathing new life into some of these old theaters and preserving that history is so important, because it would be so cool to still have that theater and be like, this is the place where cinematic history was made. And instead, it's a Kohl's.
Well, I mean, they could make a museum out of that, or do something like a destination that people wanted to go to.
Yeah.
Well, something that you and I were talking about before we started recording that I thought was interesting is we were talking about the theater at the Galleria. And I totally remember going to at least one or two movies there back in the day. But you say it's still there.
I think it's still there. Like, I've had this conversation with so many of my colleagues and friends here in town, just going back and forth and debating, because to my knowledge, what happened is they essentially just shut the theater off, that closed it off, blocked it off.
Just put a wall up.
Yes. And in fact, last week, after or I guess it would be this week, after the Netflix news hit, we started talking about it again. And we were like, is that wall going to come down? Is that theater going to become a thing again? And then, of course, got the debate going. Are all the auditoriums still there? Did they go in and actually do anything? Because we still think that it's there. It's just hidden behind a wall. And it hasn't been touched.
I think that's so interesting because, they've done so many things with the food court and the ice rink. They've made it bigger. They've made it smaller. I mean, it used to be so big that hockey teams would practice on it. Now it's tiny and all this stuff. And I think you could be right. I feel like once you said
Wouldn't it be so cool if we were?
I know.
And to just go in and knock a wall down and boom, it's a movie theater. I can't imagine the state that theater would be in after all this time.
It's been a long time.
Yeah. But still, it would be really cool if it was all still there.
Hey, Park Cities families. We all feel that pinch of rising home insurance, don't we? But there is a solution, and it's closer than you think. Meet Kathy Elwell, State Farm Agency. She's not just our trusted show sponsor. She's also the expert you need to navigate these unpredictable insurance waters. Why get lost in a maze of policies and rates? Kathy has a knack for simplifying it all. Call 214-350-2692 or stop by kathyelwell.com to schedule a meeting. She's ready to review your homeowner policy and pinpoint where you could be saving more money right now. We trust Kathy wholeheartedly, and once you chat with her, you'll see why. It's not just about rates. It's about trust, expertise, and peace of mind. So don't let rising homeowner insurance costs catch you off guard. Contact Kathy Elwell State Farm Agency now at 214-350-2692 or visit kathyelwell.com. With Kathy L. Wall on your side, you'll have an agent you can trust and help secure your family's future. Well, you mentioned the Netflix, and I've seen it all over social media, but I haven't really read it for detail. Do you know much about what's going on? Can you tell us?
Yeah. So it's Netflix says something they've done really well is doing these really cool pop-ups when new shows or films come out on the platform. And they usually do them in like LA, New York sometimes.
Right.
But they're very experiential. And they're bringing that to, there's going to be 2 cities. Dallas is one of the cities that's going to be getting this. And essentially they're connecting those pop-up experiences with food and beverage so you can taste your favorite films and shows, right? And then a shoppable experience. So you're going to have merchandise and you're going to have, you're going to have stores that, you can go buy things from your favorite shows. Like I think in the article it mentioned Stranger Things specifically. There's a t-shirt that went viral.
Yes.
So combining those 3 things, which, I'm a film lover. I'm a movie lover. I think it's really fun.
So
I think it's cool.
According to my daughter, who has nothing to do with the movie industry, she says it's going to be in the old Belk space, which has been like vacant for a long, long time. Is that accurate?
I think so. I don't have specifics on exactly what they're taking over, but some of these activations are going to be huge. So one of them that they specifically called out was Squid Games. And the bridge game? That requires a huge space to do that.
Oh my gosh.
And so I would imagine when they do some of these activations, they're going to be like taking over significant space for that.
Oh, wow. So you can actually get in there and feel like you're in the movie and experience.
Which I don't know how I feel about doing the bridge game because I don't want to be thrown off a bridge.
That was a rather intense situation. And I'm not sure I would want to experience that particular thing, but interesting.
Yeah, but you know what though? If they do it, if that's one of the activations though, my husband and I will do it 100%. We will be there and we will be doing that.
Are you looking for oral surgeons with serious skill? Well, then you should visit our friends at Stewart & Orengo. They have expertise in just about every type of oral surgery you can imagine. That means they offer full-scope oral, facial, and implant surgeries for both children and adults. And when I say skill, I mean it. They offer a TMJ, total joint replacement surgery that only a handful of oral surgeons in America are able to perform. This knowledge comes from doctors Orengo and Stewart being trained by some of the most well-respected surgeons in the world. Together, Stewart and Orengo have a thorough understanding of what it takes to achieve optimal facial aesthetics and the best results from dental implants. So want to experience a level of expertise that has won multiple Best in Big D awards for yourself? Come visit them. Stewart and Orengo are conveniently located at Northwest Highway in Hillcrest. To learn more about them or book your appointment, visit sasurgeons.com. That's sasurgeons.com. Well, another really big thing that has come out, at least the last 2 weeks, is Alamo Drafthouse went bankrupt, and then a new company has come in. And so tell us what you know about that.
Yeah, so the Alamos here in town closed, and these were all franchise owned.
Okay.
So there's one franchisee owner that owned all of the locations here in town, and I don't know what's going on with that. I don't even want to get into it because I'm sure there's a lot going on behind the scenes. But the big news is that the corporate entity Alamo was just purchased by Sony Pictures, which is a huge deal.
Yeah.
Because it's been 75 years since a major studio has owned an exhibition chain, theatrical chain.
Interesting.
Yeah. 75 years ago, the government came in and essentially said, hey, you got to break this up. Studios, you can't own distribution and, the product.
Okay, yeah.
And because there were issues with licensing going on, and it just got really complicated. And so they came out and said, hey, we're not going to do this. You can't own theaters anymore. And that was challenged, I think, in 2020 and overturned. And so now, kind of a new leaf. Let's see what happens. Sony is the first studio to dip their toe in the water and go, all right, we'll do it. We'll own a theater chain. Let's go.
Well, that is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so much has changed in the movie industry, just as it's become so much more experiential and Many offer a really nice menu, high-end food and drinks and all that. It's interesting to see how it's evolved because you used to could only get popcorn and candy. So
yeah, and popcorn and candy just doesn't do it anymore. Doesn't do it for a lot of people.
We want more, don't we?
We want more. Yeah,
fancy steaks,
right? I used to work for Studio Movie Grill, and I can tell you it is so complicated. I have the utmost respect for any of the dine-in theater concepts out there. And for those of you listening who don't know the back end of what that looks like, imagine the busiest restaurant you could possibly think of and then mesh that together with a movie theater. And all the films have to run on time. Everything has to run smoothly. Ticketing has to go well and has to connect to all the seating. And then on top of that, you have to run a restaurant that is some nights over 1,000 people in a movie theater all ordering food at the same time.
Oh my gosh.
It is so complicated. And so, I, as a moviegoer myself, sometimes I'll go, oh, well, my food didn't get here. It's cold. And then I remind myself, oh, this is very complex. But I love dine-in theaters. I actually loved going to the Alamo here. I'm a big fan of their cauliflower bites. So I'm really sad I'm not going to be getting those during my movie. But I also love going to a film, and I don't know, there's something really fun about just going back to the popcorn days. And I have this conversation a lot when I do interviews because there's two groups of people. There's the popcorn purists, and then there's everyone else who puts things in their popcorn. Where do you fall? Are you a popcorn purist or are you a
I'm more of a purist. Group? Yeah.
Yeah?
Just butter is good for me. I don't feel like it needs a lot more. What about you?
I am not a purist. I'm not a purist. I got to say, I will either do popcorn and then dump peanut M&Ms in it or dump Bunch of Crunch in it.
Okay.
Which if you've got warm, buttery popcorn, that chocolate kind of melts into the popcorn.
Now and it sounds interesting.
Oh, it's delicious. It's not healthy for you whatsoever at all, but it is delicious.
Like it. Well, I'm willing to try that. You did a good job selling it.
You will have to try it and let me know if it has changed your popcorn loyalties.
Well, what kind of tips do you have? Like, I know there's a lot of moms out there listening that have especially younger kids that they're trying to keep entertained this summer. What kind of tips do you have as far as taking them to the movies?
Well, there's two things. There's some really fun kids movies that are coming up that I think will be really great for kids and families. But I would also encourage you to go and try different concepts. Speaking of the dine-in concept, a lot of the theaters here in town, they have kids menus with really fun kids items. Kids love movie merch, and I know moms are probably going, don't even. But there's a lot of really cool popcorn buckets for these kids movies that are actually getting kind of interactive in a sense. I'll leave it at that for the moment. I'm immediately thinking of the Dune popcorn bucket, and I'm like, don't do it. Don't go there. Don't go there. So there's a lot of fun stuff like that, and a lot of these dine-ins have unique menu items, especially geared towards families and kids, and they run specials and promotions during the summer for this summer blockbuster family season. A lot of theaters have matinee special ticket pricing for kids. And then, there are also a couple of theaters. I'm thinking of B&B theaters right now that just opened right outside of Dallas. I'm forgetting the name of the city, but it's kind of probably 20, 25 minutes outside of downtown Dallas.
Grand Prairie?
No, other direction.
Okay.
Yeah, and they actually have a theater that has a playground inside of the theater.
No way.
Yes, and so before the film starts, there's kind of like a playtime where you can go and interact and play on this, play on the play set that's in there, and that gives kids an opportunity to get some energy out.
Yeah, burn off some energy before they sit still for a while.
It feels like more of, a full-on immersive experience, movie-going experience. And moms, they have a full beverage menu.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah, so I would encourage, just go and explore and see what some of these theaters are offering and test them, try them.
Okay, well, let's get into summer movies. I know there's a lot coming up. My daughter has told me she's really excited about a few. And so tell us what's going on.
So I have a couple that I'm really excited about. And I actually have a list right here because I didn't want to get the dates wrong.
It's a very long list. I love it.
But there's so many good ones coming up. So right around the corner, literally next week, A Quiet Place Day 1 is coming out. and it is taking us. Did you go see A Quiet Place when it first hit theaters?
Yes.
Okay. So this one is taking us all the way back to the beginning. This is literally day one when everything happened.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And I remember I saw the first one at South by Southwest. And so it was the film itself was kind of a new concept of horror because of the use of sound.
Uh-huh.
And I remember being in the theater and no one was eating their movie snacks. Like I would look around and people were slowly trying to put popcorn in their mouth.
They were so on edge.
Because everyone was on edge and no one wanted to make noise.
Oh my gosh.
So this film is going to be, I think it's going to be a really fun movie going experience. So I highly, highly recommend that one. Same week, we have Horizon coming out, which is a Kevin Costner film. He actually is directing this. He calls it the American Saga. It's 2 parts. The second part comes out in August. It is long. It is long. It is 3 hours long. But if you really enjoyed Westerns, like this is a throwback to true Westerns. It is his love letter to that genre of film. He even put some of his own money into making this American Saga, and this is part 1 coming out next week. And so if that's your thing, then go check it out. Just be ready to be in there for a long time. That's what I have to say about that. And then on July 3rd, just in time for the holiday weekend, one of my favorite animated franchises is coming back, and that's Despicable Me.
Yes, that my daughter is so pumped up about it.
Okay, I don't know what it is. I will never not love Minions.
Right.
Minions make me happy no matter what, period. And so this one, Gru is expanding his family. There's baby Gru. He's coming back. And
cute.
Of course, the whole family gets into another adventure and has to overcome all the things, and the Minions come back, and it's going to be a fun ride. I've heard nothing. I haven't seen this one yet, but I've heard nothing but good things about it. And so this one, if you're looking for family fun, Despicable Me 4. It's going to be a really good time.
Yeah.
The next film is one that you probably haven't heard of. I saw it last week, though, and it is one of my favorite movies I've seen this summer so far. It's called Fly Me to the Moon. Have you heard about it?
No.
Okay, that's what I thought. It is Scarlett Johansson and Channing Tatum. And the film itself is about the NASA space program when they were sending Apollo up to the moon landing.
Okay.
And it's the behind-the-scenes story. So Scarlett Johansson plays this ad agency executive who NASA brings in and says, we need you to sell the moon. We need you to sell the space program to make it popular, to get American buy-in because of what's happening between America and Russia. Like, we have to win. And then Channing Tatum, he is the head of the space program. And it's kind of this like cat and mouse, like, was the moon landing fake? Was it not? They never answer it, but they so cleverly, kind of lay the groundwork and tell this really fun story about what could have happened behind the scenes, what may have happened when that was taking place.
Okay, that sounds really good.
All-star cast, Woody Harrelson is also in the film. I cannot tell you how much I love this movie. And, if you want a good family film that, not overtly sexual, the language is, there's, I think, one bad word, bad word in the film,
by
not
today's
too bad.
standards.
No, one F-bomb, if you will, in it, because that's Woody Harrelson's bit. It was just really good, clean fun. Like, it was a good movie. It was a solid storyline. My husband and I looked at each other when we walked out, and we were like, that was so good. I really enjoyed that. I will be going back to see it a second time because I enjoyed it that much.
Yeah.
And Scarlett Johansson on screen in this film, she's Marilyn Monroe in this movie.
I mean, she's amazing.
Yeah, she's phenomenal. And she just like pops off the screen. She's so alluring. So that one is a fun movie. And it's safe to bring the family. You don't have to worry about what you usually have to worry about.
I know. Things are so graphic these days.
Yes. It's just a good time. It's just a really good movie. The next week, we have Twisters.
I've heard. That is amazing.
I'm so excited. I think it's going to be a standout film in the summer. Glenn Powell is just on a career high right
God,
now.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
Love that guy.
He's having a good year. He's having a good couple of years.
Yeah.
Just moved to Austin, so got to
Yes.
support Texas natives. Got to
Love
support
that.
it.
Mhm.
But it's him and Daisy Edgar Jones. A lot of really incredible supporting cast. I still remember going and seeing the original film. And literally scared the bejesus out of me. I was
Yeah,
scared of
absolutely.
tornadoes
Of course.
for like 3 years after I watched the movie. But this one looks like it's really well done. And again, I've heard nothing but good things about it. I haven't seen it yet. Hopefully I will see it soon. But I am very, very excited about that one because I think it's going to be the big standout of the summer. The next week, we have Deadpool and Wolverine. So if you're a comics book fan, if that's your genre, Deadpool is back. And this time, that funny, Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds, relationship. We actually
such a good dynamic.
Such a fun dynamic. I love the pranking on social media. It's basically that in a movie. Like you're going to see that dynamic play out between Wolverine and Deadpool. You're also going to get a host of other characters coming in. Some have been confirmed. I believe Jennifer Gardner as Elektra has now been confirmed, so you'll see her on screen. There are a few others that have been rumored to be making an appearance, like Lady Deadpool. We know at some point she's coming in. We don't know who's playing Lady Deadpool yet. There's a debate. Blake Lively, Taylor Swift. Who's it gonna be?
Oh my gosh.
This one's definitely gonna be not for the small kiddos. The language.
Yeah. Okay.
Total Deadpool. Keep that in mind.
Okay. Got it.
Yes. And then a couple of other fun ones. We've got another kids film, Harold and the Purple Crayon. It's based off of, I believe, a children's book. Zachary Levi is going to be the star as Harold. And it's just good kid fun, like good family fun in a movie.
Right.
So really sweet, really cute. Zoe Deschanel's in it as well.
She's so cute.
Adorable.
I love her.
Adorable at all times. So that's another one that moms, if you're looking for a really good film, a safe film to bring the kiddos to, that's
your one.
That's your one. That's your one. And then for my horror fans, M. Night Shyamalan is coming out with his next film called Trap. And the premise is really interesting to me. It takes place in a concert venue. Josh Hartnett is actually coming back to the big screen as the lead in it. And there's a serial killer amongst the concert goers. You find out pretty early on who that serial killer might be. And then chaos unfolds. And of course, in true, M. Night Shyamalan fashion, there are going to be twists. There are going to be turns. And what you think's happening is probably not going to be what's actually happening, which is what makes his film so intriguing and interesting.
Okay, I saw the previews for that. It really freaked me out.
It
just
looks
the
good.
Previews, because I go to a lot of concerts.
Yeah.
And that looks so believable and so scary.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I'm excited for that one. I saw his daughter just had her directorial debut with The Watchers that came out at the beginning of the summer. And I watched it. And if that is her first film, she's got an amazing career ahead of her. And definitely following her father's footsteps. Very similar style. Twists, turns, that twist at the end of, oh, that was unexpected. It was there. So you could definitely see that his artistry is rubbed off on her. And she's following the family legacy there. So fun to have both of them with films in one summer. And then to kind of end the summer off at the beginning of August, there are two films, very different. One I'm sure you've heard of because there's a huge audience for it. And that is It Ends With Us with Blake Lively, who is just in town.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
there is a book bonanza here in Grapevine, and Blake Lively was just here with a couple of the other cast members, as well as Colleen Hoover, who's the author of the book. They did a couple of premiere screenings at Book Bonanza and met with fans and introed the film. Very, very cool to have them here in Dallas. I think more people should come to Dallas because we're such a great city. But this one, I just heads up, if you are a true book fan, just know the film is going to be a little different. It's not going to be exact. It's not going to be word for word. People ask me all the time, like, when there is a book adaptation, do you read the book first? Do you do the movie first? I always do the movie first because our imaginations will never, like movies will never compare to our imagination.
Yeah, right.
You know, our imaginations, that's as good as it gets. And so when you see a film that is an adaptation, you're immediately going to go, well, this didn't happen and that didn't happen.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Do it the opposite way.
That's what I do. And I will tell you that I watched the film without having read the book, and I really loved it. And I have to say, there is a very dark theme and topic. As if you are a fan of the book, you know domestic violence is definitely a very strong theme in the book, in the movie as well. But there's a sexy cast in this movie.
Oh,
and
very nice.
The beginning of the movie.
So it doesn't sound like one for the kids.
No, not for the kids, but ladies, girls' night. And my husband watched it with me as well, and he loved it.
Okay.
He really loved it too. And so it was very well done, very good. Performances, top notch. And of course, Blake Lively. Like, she's one of the most beautiful people alive.
Amazing actress.
And she's fantastic in this film. I really, really enjoyed it. But just keep in mind, if you are a book fan, go in with an open mind, because there are going to be some things that are a little bit different from the book. And that's okay. That's okay. So yeah, that kind of ends. Oh, and then one other one. I have to mention this one too, because this younger kids could probably get into this one too. It's called Borderlands, and it's based on the game. So if you have a gamer in your family, this one is the adaptation, the on-screen adaptation of that, and it's an amazing cast, like Cate Blanchett, Ariana Greenblatt, who is the daughter in Barbie. She's having an incredible career right now. Director Eli Roth, who is really known for the horror genre, but this time he's doing kind of thriller action with this. Jamie Lee Curtis is going to be in it, Edgar Ramirez. I mean, an incredible cast. I haven't seen it yet, but I interviewed the cast a couple of months ago, and they are all just like, the stunts are amazing, over the top. I believe most of them did all of their own stunts. Like Cate Blanchett did all of her own stunts in the film, which is kind of incredible.
It's very impressive.
Very, very impressive. But they said it was an intense process filming, but they're so excited because they were like, being in this world was just so amazing. And they worked so hard to make sure that they were meeting fans' expectations, because the game itself has a huge following and has a huge fandom behind it. And so, they said fans are in for a treat.
Oh my
And I'm going to believe them. I'm going to believe them.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing everything today. You went above and beyond my expectations. My whole goal of doing this podcast with you today was just to create excitement of what's coming up and get people back in the movie theaters. And I mean, you have sold me, so I know you're going to sell everyone else. Like, I am so excited. I haven't really been paying attention to what's coming up. And so I am so excited to see all these films.
Yeah, and guys, please go to the movies. Movie theaters need your support now more than ever. It is my favorite place to be, inside of a movie theater. I love it so much. Going into a dark room with a bunch of strangers and all experiencing something together at the same time. There's no other experience like that on the planet. And so if I can leave you with anything, it's please go to the movies. We need you.
I love it. Well, how can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram. It's Danielle.Hawthorne. I will admit I am terrible about posting sometimes, but I am there. And if you want to connect, I love new friends. So please connect with me.
Well, perfect. Well, that's been another episode of The Bubble Lounge. I'm Martha Jackson, and we'll catch you next time.